In the next topic, we will see what is a SVM. It is very popular in machine learning algorithm, that is a support vector machine. So before we start the SVM, let us take a recap of machine learning, fundamental of machine learning. So machine learning is divided into the three types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and the reinforcement learning. So in supervised learning, we already train the data, and then after that, after training with our label data, we can say that we have to find out the solution. While in unsupervised learning, we have not trained the data, we don't have any label, we don't have any predefined data, and on the basis of unlabeled data, we want to give the some output. That is called the unsupervised learning. And reinforcement learning, it means that the system itself learns from its experience or as per the environment. Okay, so that is called the reinforcement learning. So in supervised learning, the machine learning model learns from the past input data and make the future prediction as output. So here we are teaching the our model that this is an strawberry, and when the model is get trained, and when you show him a picture of strawberry, it identifies correctly. That is called as a supervised learning. So the supervised learning is divided roughly into the two types, that is called the classification and the regression. So what is the classification? You are classifying the data into two or more categories, that is called the classification. So here we can see that, so we classify the data into yes or no, that is called the classification. While in a regression, we are predicting some data in a continuous form. And what is the SVM? What is the SVM? If you ask the SVM, so roughly you can say that the SVM, that is a support vector machine, is a combination of the classification and the regression. It makes a combination of classification as well as the regression. So we will see how it can be worked like the support vector machine. So before we start the support vector machine, let us take this an example. Last week, my son and I visited to the fruit shop, and there my son found a fruit which was similar to both. So he asked me one question, that is that an apple or strawberry? Because he is very small, so he cannot recognize or cannot differentiate between the apple and the strawberry, because both fruit are in the red color. So let us consider he is in the learning process. So he is not recognized it properly. Is it a strawberry or apple? But as I am a trained person, I have to give the proper answer. After a couple of seconds, he could figure out that it is a strawberry, so he still called it is a strawberry. What? Because previous sometime I had taught them how to recognize the fruit, on which basis you have to recognize the food for the fruits. Okay, so he recalled that training, and then he find out that, oh, it is a strawberry. Yes, it was a strawberry. So why not build a model which can predict an unknown data? So if you want to predict an unknown data, so what is the process? What is the life cycle of machine learning? Here we have some past labeled data. Okay, so you can see that there are the two types of fruit. One is a strawberry and one is an apple. Even though the color of both fruits are same, that is an apple is red color and the strawberry is also the red color, but obviously it has some different characteristics. Okay, So you can say that the shape of both fruit are different, the size of both fruit are different, the color are same, the leaf size are different, weight are different, and so on. So when you categorize these two fruits using the proper label data, what is the apple and what is the strawberry, you have to give this data to the model training. And once you train your model by using this past label data, and when a new data comes for checking, for testing purpose in your model, we find out it based on its characteristics, based on its characters, what is its color, what is its shape, what is its size, what is the type of leaf, what is the weight, and based on that, this model predicts that it is an strawberry. It is not an apple because its size is different. Even though it is in red color, but its size is different. Its leaf size is different. Its weight is different, and so on. So various parameters that we finalize for the apple is totally different from this fruit. So in this case, what we are doing, we recognize that fruit is an strawberry. So this is a support vector machine. Is it an SVM? Yes. The SVM is a supervised learning method that look at data and sort it into one or two categories. But how does prediction work in this example? The support vector machine, that is SVM, take your label sample data, then it categorizes itself into the different boundaries, that is called the decision boundaries. So all the elements, they have some same characteristic that is placed in one side, and those items, elements having the different characteristics are placing in a different group. And when the new data or unlabeled sample is come for testing purpose, so based on their characteristics, based on their features, it categorized properly into strawberry and into the apple, and predict them as a proper output that is belonging to the strawberry or is it belonging to an apple. So this is the working of SVM. Now let's take another example for understanding in detail what is the SVM, what is the SVM is different from the logistic regression. So let us consider we have some data of different people based on their height and the weight. So we are keeping the data of some people of their height and the weight, and this is our data set. So for the female data set, let us consider the height is 174 centimeter, the weight must be 65. 174, 88, 175, 75, 180, 65, 185, 80. So this is an weight we are taking from the observation, height versus weight for the female category. And for the male category, the sample data actually that are 179 height, so 90 weight, 180 height, centimeter height, that is 80 weight, and so on. So I have the two categorical data, male and female, weight versus height. Now let us consider I add a new data point and figure out it is belonging to the male or female. So let us consider I add a new data point here, and now I want to find out this new data point is belonging to the weight, belonging to the male category or female category. So how we can do it? So as it is a problem of classification, because you want to classify the new entered data into the category, either it is a male category or the female category. So we have to classify it. So this new data point is belonging to the male category or female category. So how we can do it? Let us start with. So the first step, what I am doing here, we need to split our data first. So we split our data properly into the male category and the female category based on the weight into height. And we can split the data by choosing either these two lines. So either you can choose the line number 1 or line number 2. Okay, so these are the two possibilities where you can easily find out that new data set is belonging to the male category or the female category. So if let us consider you are choosing the line number 1, so this new data point is belonging to the male category, and if you are choosing the line number 2, so this new data point is belonging to the female category. But to predict the gender of the new data point, we should split the data in the best possible way. So how we can categorize these new data points based on their best possible way? So how we can select either line number 1 or line number 2? So this line number 1, you can say that this is a hypothesis 1 or hypothesis 2. So line number 1 is a hypothesis 1. So if you prove that the line number 1, so your hypothesis 1 is true, it means the new data point is belonging to the male category. And when you say that the line number 2 is a hypothesis 2, and if you prove the line number 2, that is a hypothesis 2, it means that is a female category. So by my own observation, by own manual observation, you can say that this line means line number 1 is a best split the data properly. But the question is arise, why do you say it is a best split? You can say, you can take a line number 2 also. So why you are selecting the line number 1, not a line number 2? This is one question. And from here, our support vector machine starts. This line has a maximum space that separates the two class properly. Okay. So if you see that this line number 1 having the proper maximum space that separates the two classes. Okay. This is the first reason. While the other line doesn't have the maximum space, and that separates the two classes. So if you consider the line number 2, now let us consider the line number 2, but this line number 2 is not separate the classes properly because you don't have the maximum space to separate the two classes, and that is why this line is a best fitted line. Okay. So this is a manual observation. Manually you can say that the line number 1 is a best fitted line. But how we can prove it mathematically or technically? So to prove it technically, let's consider this. These 2 points are called as the distance margin, and these are the main line, line number 1, and these are the 2 points. Okay, so these 2 points representing are useful for finding out the distance. Then there is our main line, and this green line is indicating the distance margin. It is called as the distance margin. So what is the distance margin? The margin is the perpendicular distance between the closest data point and the hyperplane. The best optimized line with a maximum margin is termed as a margin maximal hyperplane. The closest point where the margin maximum distance is calculated are considered as the support vector. And here the hyperplane is a 2D plane drawn parallel to the x-axis, that is the separator. So this support vector machine in technical terms we can say the distance between the support vector and the hyperplane should be far as possible. Okay. So these are the 2 support vectors. We are calling these 2 points as the support vector, and the main line is called as the hyperplane. Where these support vectors are the extreme point in the data set. So how we can find out the support vector? So in your data set, you can find out these are the 2 extreme points. You have to select these 2 points as extreme points in your data set, and you call them as a support vector in your data set. And the hyperplane has the maximum distance to the support vector of any class. So this hyperplane is your main hypothesis line where we are used the 2 terminology now. D plus is the shortest distance to the closest positive point, and the D minus is the shortest distance to the closest negative point. Okay, so D plus and the D minus. So what is the D plus? So the D plus is your D plus is the shortest distance to the closest positive point, while the D minus is the shortest distance to the closest negative point. And when you make this sum of D plus and D minus, so you can get the distance margin. Okay, so this distance margin is nothing but the combination of the D plus and the D minus. And from the distance margin, we get an optimal hyperplane. And based on this hyperplane, we can say the new data point belonging to the male gender. Okay, so using the hyperplane, as this hyperplane is correctly placed, because the distance between a D plus and the D minus are same. When we calculate the D plus and D minus, we are getting the correct distance margin. So this distance margin means that your 2 points are properly placed, and hence this line is the best split line, and you can say that this new data point is belonging to the male gender. Okay, so that was clear that this data point is belonging to the male category. But let us consider we are selecting the different hyperplane. Okay, for example, line number 2. So if you select the hyperplane having the low margin, then there is a high chance of misclassification. Okay, you can see that this margin are not correct. So this is an high chance of the misclassification. So that's why we are not saying that this is belonging to the female category. So this is an LSVM, least support vector machine. Another example to understand this support vector machine is like this. Let us consider this data point. Okay, and you can easily divide this data point either dividing this blue dot and the yellow dot by using the one hyperplane. But what happens if there is a sample data point like this? If you observe carefully, in a sample data set, the blue point at the left hand side, the blue points are properly classified or categorized. But on the right hand side, you can see that this blue point is merged with a yellow point. So there are the 3 yellow points and the 2 blue points, while on the left hand side, all 4 are the blue points. So how we can differentiate this data? Now in this case, we cannot use the hyperplane. So there is a different methodology we have to apply. Okay. Because every problem has a different solution. You cannot use the same solution for the same or for the different problem. In previous example, we have used the concept called as a hyperplane. But if you use the concept of hyperplaning to solve this problem, so it will not be work. Why? Because you can see that on the right hand side, the data is a combination of the blue point and the yellow point, while on the left hand side, the data is contained only the blue point. So how we can divided this data using the hyperplane? No, it is not possible. So how we can classify this data? So one solution to convert this one-dimensional data to the two-dimensional view, and now here is a new concept we are introducing, that is called the kernel function. So what is a kernel function? As you can see that in the kernel function we have to give some input, and the kernel function is giving some output. But what exactly mean by the kernel function? The kernel function is a mathematical function for transferring the data. So here we are transferring the data from the one-dimensional to the two-dimensional, two-dimensional to the three-dimensional, using some linear algebra. So we are using the linear algebra for the kernel function, and the different SVM algorithm use the different kernel function, means different linear algebra for converting the one-dimensional data to the two-dimensional data. So what is the formula to find out the kernel function? The kernel function is a dot product of the n-dimensional input. So the kernel function is defined as, it is a dot product of n-dimensional input. So let us consider this, there is a two values, x is equal to x1, x2, x3, and y is equal to y1, y2, y3. So how we can form a kernel function? So kernel function f of x is equal to x1 into x1, x1 into x2, x1 into x3, x2 into x1, x2 into x2, x2 into x3, x3 into x1, x3 into x2, and x3 into x3. While f of y is equal to y1 into y1, y1 into y2, y1 into y3, y2 into y1, y2 into y2, and y2 into y3, y3 into y1, y3 into y2 and y3 into y2. Whereas the k of xy, that is the kernel function of xy, is equal to xy whole square. Now taken some numerical value, then we will try to solve this kernel function. So I am replacing the value of x is equal to 1, 2, 3 and the y value with 4, 5, 6. So when I replace the value of x and y with a numerical value now, so f of x is nothing but 1 into 1, that is 1, 1 into 2 is a 2, 1 into 3 is a 3, 2 into 1 is a 2, 2 into 2 is 4, 2 into 3 is a 6, 3 into 1 that is a 3, 3 into 2 that is 6 and 6 into 6, 3 into 3 that is a 9. So this is an f of x. Then f of y. The f of y is 4 into 4 that is a 16, 4 into 5 that is a 20, 4 into 6 that is a 24, 5 into 4 that is a 20, 5 into 5 that is 25 and 5 into 6 that is a 30. Now for the 6 into 4 that is a 24, 6 into 5 that is a 30 and 6 into 6 that is a 36. Now f of x is equal to, as you see that is x and y whole square, so we already make a 16 plus 14 plus 72 plus 40 plus 100 plus 80, 180 plus 72, 180 plus 324 that is 104. And when we make the addition of this 4 into 10 plus 18 is also nothing but the whole square of 1024, and that is our kernel function. So f of xy is equal to k of xy. So hence this is your kernel function. So 1024 is the answer for your kernel function. Now, how we can use this kernel function? That is the most important part. So for transferring, we are using the kernel function. So the kernel function is used to converting the one-dimensional data to the two-dimensional output. So let us consider I am giving the data as a one-dimensional input. So using your kernel function, you can convert it in the two-dimensional. So how we can give it? So when you giving this one-dimensional data at the top of the graph, you can see that this is one-dimensional data, and we are giving this data to the kernel function. So this kernel function is now divided this one-dimensional data into the two-dimensional data using the function, kernel function, and you can now easily classify or categorize this data now. So you can use this hyperplane, and all above dots on this hyperplane, you can say that these are the belonging to the blue color dot, and all the dots belong less than at the downside of this y hyperplane are called the yellow dot point. And you can see that the distance d1, d plus and d minus and both are same, because these two dots, that is the nearest dot point of hyperplane, the distance are same, so you are selecting the proper hyperplane. Okay, so all the dots at upper side, you can categorize them as a yellow dot, and all the dots below the hyperplane, you can say that is a yellow dot, and upper one is a blue dot. So using this kernel function, we are easily converted this one-dimensional data into the two-dimensional data, and easily we can classify. Another very difficult problem. Now, how we can differentiate this data using the SQL? Because it is already a two-dimensional data. So you cannot segregate these two classes using this simple hyperplane. What we are doing now? Now we are converting this two-dimensional data into the three-dimensional data. Okay, using again the kernel function. Kernel function is an inbuilt function in a Python, so you can use the kernel function for transferring the two-dimensional data into the three-dimensional data. And now you can see that this two-dimensional data is now converted into the three-dimensional data. Now you can easily make a hyperplane and see that all the upper points are the green color and the lower points are the red color. Okay, so it is an easy way to converting the two-dimensional data into the three-dimensional data. So what are the advantages of this support vector machine? So this support vector machine is used in very famous, that is HD video. All of you know familiar with the HD video now, or HD picture. So what is that HD picture or HD video? This high dimensional input phase. So we are converting your normal video into high quality, high definition 3D. That's why you can see that the clarity of HD movie or HD picture or HD videos, HD pictures are more than the two-dimensional data. Why? Because it is converted, because it is using the kernel function, it converts the 2D data into the 3D data. And these are some regulatory parameters, various applications we are used where we can use the support vector machine.